Tried and True, the DC United post-game podcast presented by Heineken. And while we don't have a game tonight, we do have quite a show lined up for you all. Happy New Year, first of all. It's the rest of the team. I'm John Lee, but joined as always by Sam Kastner, Joshua Morgan, and Michael Black. And guys, welcome back.
Ooh, it's been a while, right?
It has. Happy to be back.
Yeah, it's crazy we can finally put 2020 behind us, and I want to welcome in our listeners tonight, and hopefully we've got some new folks join in as well, as tonight's show, as I mentioned, is quite different. We're typically live right after every game. Back before the pandemic, that was at Audi Field, and hopefully we'll be again soon someday. And of course, after all the games, we go live and break down what happened, air the press conferences, and talk to the fans about how they're feeling, about the game. But tonight, we've got a collaboration between the Screaming Eagles and DC Scores as we look to raise money for DC Scores by auctioning off some awesome DC United gear, merchandise, opportunities to hang with players. You can check all of that out at sedcs.givesmart.com, and we'll be mentioning that throughout the show. I'll go ahead and toss that into the YouTube right now so you guys have that. But lots of great opportunities, and all of the money goes to support DC Scores. And coming up later, we're going to talk all about DC Scores, what they do. We'll give you the full rundown if you're not aware. And right at the top of the hour, DC United co-chairman and CEO Jason Levien is going to be joining the show to talk all things DC United with us. So super excited about that. And if you have questions for Jason, now's the time to get those in the YouTube chat, or of course using the hashtag Tried and True DCU.
Yeah. That was a good spiel, John. Yeah.
There is some big news in DC United land today that we've got to start with before we get in. Donovan Pines was called up today to the U.S. Youth National Teams of the U23s to train down in Florida, and Paul Arriola got the call up a couple weeks ago for the full-time, the first team men's national team, and they're going to be training together. So really exciting opportunity for Donovan, and well-deserved.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Black.
When they talk everyone training together and having potentially the opportunity to maybe make an appearance with the full team, that might be a little bit much to ask from a guy who's called in late, but who knows? Maybe he knocks their socks off the way he's been impressing for us all season.
Yeah, I feel like he can handle it. Yeah, it's great that he does have that opportunity. I hope he's able, obviously, to make the most of it, coming in a little late, like you said, but I don't really think it's going to be an issue for him.
Well, and it's a great opportunity, too. I mean, definitely this time of year, and a little bit of uncertainty about when the MLS teams are going to get back out there, on the pitch to train. Just a great way for him to spend some time with some great talent across the country. It's mostly an MLS side, the MLS squad rather. That's it. The training for the U.S. men's national team right now, but still a great opportunity. And I believe this is Donovan's. Is it his first call up with the youth national team, or has he had some experience there before?
I don't know if with the U23s, but he's definitely been a part of the system for a while, and it's been a little bit of a break. So it's good to see him play his way back into it.
He had that injury too, though, so it was a little bit of a break from DC United too, especially when I know we talked about this kind of throughout the season, but especially when you consider, he spent some time at Loudoun. He might have continued to spend some time at Loudoun, but then because of COVID, they couldn't really do that flow back and forth. He got so much first team, experience just training in and out, and the minutes that he got. I'm sure that really helped him prep for this. I don't know. It's so exciting to thinking about him, even like on the bench for the full team, right? That'd be awesome.
I can't be the only one who would love to see the full list of players that they would like to call in. Obviously we see the ones that they call up, but they have the alternate set up. Like, how deep does this list go? Are there 150 people on there that they're ready to go? Is it 50 in each position? Maybe we'll eventually get a chance to talk to Bearholder, but I'm looking forward to talking to Levien tonight and getting his take on our team here locally.
they've got endless macros on that sheet. It's like, where is the camp? What time of season is it? You know, and then it like filters out players that live too far away or their clubs are in Europe or whatnot. But speaking of men's national team players in Europe, Deandre Yedlin, big rumors right now that he could be coming back to MLS. And I want to bring this up a little bit early tonight because SBI Soccer is reporting that it's a serious long-term guaranteed TAM offer from an Eastern Conference team. So could DC United be in the market for Deandre Yedlin?
I think right back is definitely a position of need. We've seen a bit of a revolving door there the past few seasons, and DeAndre's a huge talent. He's already won the Supporter Shield in MLS, and then he moved over after that incredible World Cup in 2014. Definitely a level I'm just getting from you, John, that it would be a tan level deal for the this extent of that contract. That's good value for money. I think DeAndre, just on athleticism alone, is better than most players in the league.
Yeah, I was going to say we could definitely use his speed in the back. We talked, I think, probably the last show we did, maybe the show before that, about the roster and what we need. And our defense is not the fastest, especially if we do have Briant staying for another season. Him and Steven, love them. They work great together, but they're not, like, really chasing anyone down. So DeAndre could definitely kind of bring that to this team, as well as obviously pushing forward. I don't know. It's hard to talk about this without also talking about the coaching situation, which I know we'll get into in like just a couple minutes. But depending upon what style we play, it's presumably not going to be as defensive minded. So Yedlin's speed could really be an asset to us.
Yeah, and as the only person here who has the misfortune of watching a lot of Newcastle games, he is often a bright spot on the field. It's a team that likes to defend a lot, not altogether different from what DC United tries to do. Maybe he's a fit. Who knows? Like you said, Sam, we're going to need to get into some other things, talking about coaching too. But definitely a piece that could play a big role if we were able to make that move.
Yeah, and one of the things that we pulled together here as a podcast, really, for our first episode in 2021 is our New Year's resolutions for the team. So kind of sticking in the holiday spirit. We're still in single-digit days of January, right? So I think we can still get away with it. But we kind of broke it down into 4 categories, and you'll hear in our conversation with Jason Levien, which is coming up here in about 20 minutes or so, we're going to talk to him about some of these main broader themes as well. But we'll kind of start, and each of us sort of took a lead on one of these, and so you'll probably hear me talk a little bit here at the beginning as I talk through some of the business ops way ahead. 2020 was just devastating on this front, not only for DC United, but across the world. It was just a very difficult year for business, particularly in sports. And looking at DC United, they had a sports book scheduled to be opened last year with Caesars. They were doing some additional work to the stadium, building out Heineken Hall, which was where we were supposed to be live for all of the games really last year. All of that kind of went by the wayside because of COVID-19. And the team also had to part ways with some folks that were very instrumental in getting us off the ground. Andy Bush, James Clark, to name a couple. Tight budget last year for DC United. The Athletic reported that the games played behind closed doors last year cost DC United somewhere around 40% of their annual revenue, which is devastating for bringing in players, for continuing to grow the club. And there was a bit of a turning point in late October, though. Fanduel was announced as the exclusive sports betting partner of DC United, which was a bit surprising to me, right? Because we had Caesars as the sleeve sponsor, but it sounds like FanDuel is now going to operate the sportsbook, hopefully sometime this year. And perhaps most importantly, in December, DC United appointed Tanita Johnson as president of business operations. And guys, I love this move. I'm so excited about what the club is doing here. I mean, having a black woman in a president role in DC is so on brand. That's what this city needs. It's representative of the city, and her resume is outstanding. I mean, she joins from LA, where she came from the Sparks in the WNBA. And to me, when you look at that, LA is a tough city with endless teams, right? I mean, they got 2 of everything on the men's professional level. the Sparks are probably not even like the 5th most popular basketball team in that city when you add in like USC and UCLA, right? Yet she was able to get massive successes in community engagement, sponsorships, ticket sales increases, and that's the kind of experience I think DC United needs in this city, where they're probably easily the 5th most popular men's team. They're behind the other 4, and it's such an opportunity though. It's a soccer-rich market, so many fans of the game. She's got her work cut out for her, but I think there's a lot of promise here. What are your guys' thoughts on bringing in Deandre Johnson?
I love how you brought up that she's so representative of the city and of the team. You know, that position has been empty for quite a while, right? I think Jason was
years.
Yeah, filling in for it. So it's really exciting to see someone who can really give that position their all. Obviously, she has the experience for it. And yeah, just bringing in that diversity of just thought into the room, right? As both a person of color and a female, she's going to be able to see things a little bit differently. She's going to be able to bring in that experience. And I think she's going to really be able to connect with the city, which is also so important, right? When you're talking about how to get people from the city really energetic around the team. So I'm thrilled. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, that's huge for me. I love the experience in DC and the resume as getting people in seats, because I truly believe, you know, we're all homers to this team. Once you get people in the stands, they're going to fall in love with it. It's just too much fun. And that's been an area DC United's been lacking in. The stadium's been a little bit empty too often. So I'm excited to see some changes there and welcome more people into the family.
And didn't the Athletic report that teams, their revenue can be up to 40% of like ticket sales?
Yeah, DC United specifically.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, that's what I thought I remember. So that's so important, right? That bleeds into all these other things when you want to talk about bringing in the best coaches, bringing in the best players, you know, really having training facilities and a youth academy. You know, that all is helped by having more money, obviously. So if she can really grow the base and the number of people who are trying to get through the door and then who are presumably buying merch and, you know, paying for these extra experiences that DC United provides, I think, you know, this could be the start of a really positive upward trajectory for the team.
Yeah, and one thing that's really important about Danita is that she's been in DC before. You know, she worked for the Mystics. She led their ticket sales and service department, so she's not new to the area, which I think is another kind of leg up in understanding the demographics of the city, understanding, you know, the interests, and hopefully this is going to be just the start of something great, you know, here in terms of getting DC United back and more exposure in this area. And recently our friends at Black and Red United reported that the appears that work is finally starting on the training facility out in Loudoun, which is really exciting. It's something I plan to ask Jason Levien about here later on in the show. But one of the things I've talked a lot about on this podcast is DC United's invested a ton of money off the field. We've all seen it with Audi Field, which was no small feat. For years, it was difficult to get a stadium. It cost a fortune, but they got one. They got it right downtown. Segra Field and the launch of Loudoun United, and then, you know, this training facility. That there's a lot of investment going into the team, and then of course, Sam, as we've talked about, 40% of the revenue is gone last year.
Yeah.
Looking at all of this, to me, you know, New Year's resolutions for 2021 in the arena of business operations, transparency, exposure, and growth. You know, how much can the team be transparent about some of these challenges? You know, like can we peel back the curtain a little bit and talk about when we think we're going to have the training facility done and sort of why it's been delayed so much, right? Like, I think there's pretty clear connecting the dots behind the scenes that there's money not coming in, but more transparency there, I think, just helps the whole fan base kind of understand what's going on. Exposure, I think, is a huge opportunity, especially with Deandre Johnson coming in to build the brand even more, right? And whether that's, you know, I loved having games streamable this year, but I'd love it even more if they were on NBC4 or they were on Telemundo 44 in Spanish or they were on radio. So many opportunities there. And finally, growth. You know, the first two kind of bleed into that. You know, once getting fans back into the stands, I think there's just so many ways this team can grow in terms of fans, in terms of revenue coming in, and in terms of success on and off the field.
Yeah, I think
absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. You know, this is a team that has an opportunity to be a major player in the DC sports market. It's a soccer-rich area, and too often you talk to people who don't understand that there's a team here, or when they play, or how I get tickets. Pretty basic things, and having somebody who's there focused on growing that business, growing that presence in the DMV is going to be huge. And I think you're right on to spell out those resolutions of making it transparent, growing the exposure and growing the footprint overall.
You want to move on to the next topic here, which Michael, I think was yours primarily in terms of we gotta hire a coach.
It's a little surprising that we're still talking about the coaching search here in January. This is not a new need for the team. Ben Olsen, you can't talk about the DC United coaching landscape without mentioning Ben. He's had been the coach of the team for basically the last decade, and until October he had been on the field or on the sideline in some capacity for every game since the 90s. It's unbelievable to see he's gone, but as we all saw, the way the team played this season, it was time for the team to move on. Ben was fired on October 6th. They lost back-to-back games by 4 goals, and we're sitting in last place. Ted Ashton finished out the season. I had a fairly solid finish. Changed the way they played a little bit. Team went 3-3-1, and I think all of us kind of expected that the team would be moving on the coaching search, and we've certainly seen reports that they've talked to folks. They've gone back and forth. They're certainly not procrastinating, but at this point, we still don't have a coach, and we're now 3 months away from Ben Olsen's firing. So looking forward, we need to have a coach. That's one of the things when you talk about bringing in players or making the on-field product something that people want to come watch. A lot of that depends on the coaching. A lot of it depends on the playing style that you're playing, and really a leadership position for this organization. We saw reports this week from the Washington Post. Steve Goff said, Gonzalo Pineda was offered the job, but that negotiations broke down. No specifics on whether it was control issues or spending or what was going on. Just that they had been in discussions and that wouldn't work. Gonzalo Pineda, of course, is a assistant in Seattle where they've had a whole lot of success over the last few years. And frankly, it's disappointing because this is the second coach that they've had break down. None of us were terribly excited about the idea of Chris Armas coming to DC.
I think we're more disappointed about talks breaking down with with Pineda as opposed to Armas. But yeah, it does raise some questions there about what is the team looking for in a coach.
Sure. Yeah. And we've seen a number of names thrown out there, names like Joe Wallace, names like Ezra Hendrickson from Columbus, guys like Rodolfo Burrell from Man City, Pat Noonan at Philadelphia, even Chad Ashton, I assume, was part of the process and they've talked to. The reporting, like Goff said, was that they're looking at some European targets. But we've talked about it ad nauseum because it's been a few months, but one of the New Year's resolutions for this team has to be to hire a coach. I think all of us would like to see them dream big with what they can do and really define that playing style for the team moving forward. Who knows if this is a coach that you can have for 10 years like you had Ben Olsen. If we're lucky, we'll have a team that's successful enough to be in a position like that. But either way, you need to define what this team wants to be, whether it's the gritty Ben Olsen style that they've been playing for years. You have to have a coach at the top, and you have to have an idea of how players that you bring in fit into that. So my resolution is hire a dang coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously frustrating, and we will definitely be asking Jason about this process and what he can tell us, but my patience is waning a little bit, but I was definitely kind of I think maybe a minority camp of like I'd prefer the team to take their time and really get this hire right and start moving forward now, as opposed to kind of just hiring somebody as a quick fix, see what they do, and then having to be in the position of hiring another coach in a year or two. That again is getting harder and harder now that we're coming down in to the wire of having draft picks, needing to make other signings if we're gonna want to utilize this window for the team. It is unfortunate that we did offer the job and it was turned down. I wonder, I haven't seen if there's any kind of news on who the backup is. This is just me speculating, but I wouldn't really be surprised if it was Ezra Hendrickson, just because he also kind of has that DC background, right? Didn't he? He was in DC for a little while earlier in his career. So I don't know. I hope it happens soon. Hopefully Jason can tell us to just look forward to the next week and we're going to get an announcement, right? But
maybe he'll announce the head coach on the probably not.
John, you'd pass out.
But it feels to me a little bit like buying real estate almost. Like,
yeah.
There's good options out there, but if you wait too long, then they're gone. But there's new options popping up every day with coaches getting fired and becoming available. And so, with some of the international coaches that are now available that weren't back in November, you almost wonder, is the fact that they've missed out on a few guys, is that going to end up being a blessing in disguise in the long run?
Yeah.
Or, but also, I don't even think we had a chance to talk to Greg Vanney. He went so quick from Toronto to LA. So it's interesting.
Speaking of Toronto, is Ben still rumored? It was Toronto and then Sheffield Wednesday, right? I haven't seen any of those new rumors. So but obviously Ben Olsen, ended probably on worse terms than one would have hoped. But he's always, I think, going to have a special place in every DC United fan's heart. So it would be exciting to cheer him on for another team. It would be very interesting to cheer him on for Toronto. Pretty early on, it was funny to think about if he and Vanney kind of just swapped and to see what they would have done with each other's teams. Obviously, that's not happening. But yeah, I do hope we get to root for Ben. Hopefully not against DC United.
Yeah, I like the point you bring up, John, about the new people are their job status is opening up, and some big names out there, some names that DC United was linked to way back before they were as successful as they are now. But one thing we're missing is that the Super Draft is in less than 2 weeks. This is the time of year. The transfer window's about to open. We need to start making moves for players, and that kind of leads into what my resolution is about. I want to talk about the roster building and the transfers in and out. 2020 was a big year for DC United, transformative. In 2019 at the end we lost Lucho and Wayne Rooney, two cornerstones of this team, I think, for the 2 or 3 years that they were here together. And that was a big deal. We had to find where our goals were going to come from. DC United opened up the transfer window, busted through it with the record signing for them, $5 million for Edison Flores. It was a great look. I'd love for them to be breaking the transfer fee every single window, but it's probably not realistic. But kind of a theme that I want to go over here is that last year was very good for the roster, I think, from the end of 2019 to what it was in 2020. But it can't be a one-time thing. So maybe not we're not breaking the transfer fee every single window, but maybe a year or so we're always around that $5 million mark, getting those big players in. We also brought in Julian Gressel from Atlanta with $750,000 of TAM. That's a big move from a proven player in MLS. You gotta love to see it. This is kind of Casper's alley. He's used to dealing with a little bit less scam and TAM, but it's a great value for this, for the monopoly money that we paid for him. Yeah, he had 2 goals and 3 assists, and a little bit over 1,500 minutes for DCU this year. We signed 2 homegrown players, and it kind of feels weird to say that we signed them last year, considering how near and dear to our hearts, Kevin Paredes and Moses Nyman, who appear to be 2 future stars for this team. I love that DC United was able to get them last year. I look forward to continuing that effort, and it seems like a pipeline is full with players like that. MLS veterans we brought back, like I said, this is Casper's MO, Assad, Iguain, Abu, Jordi Reyna, all brought in. It's good to know that those guys can compete at this level. So I appreciate that about Casper. And, a lot of times we complain about, these are just rejects from other teams, but those guys have some decent value. They're good players, and we know they can perform at this level. So it was good to bring them in. And then we also had some flyers on some foreign guys. Sorga comes to mind. Rivas was another good flyer. And I think, we got a decent result from the money we spent. I mean, Rivas was a free transfer, and Sorga didn't cost that much, despite being the Estonian Messi. So out of
plenty of time to meet that high water.
Yeah. He's only 21, maybe 22 now, but of that. So I just kind of wanted to break down what happened for DCU in 2020. 10 of the 24 goals scored and 10 of the 16 assists came from players acquired that season. That's an insane amount of numbers. It's understandable considering what we lost, but if we can continue to build on that, if we can bring in players that can contribute at that level, you're starting to build an MLS Cup caliber team. So my resolution is just to continue this trajectory. Like I said, don't drop off. Don't do it every few years when the rosters really needs to be refreshed or you lose all your major talent. Just continue to add a little bit of homegrown players, a little bit of MLS veteran, a little bit of DP, the like attention grabbers. I think this roster would be in a really good spot.
We do still have that one DP spot open.
Yeah, and I think you're so right there in terms of just how do you grow, a year in, year out competitor, right? That comes from younger players, that comes from developing in-house, and obviously homegrowns are leading this team now, and moving into where do you get the younger players? I think that's spot on, Joshua.
Yeah, I agree. Did you mention who did we just sign? Sorry, I don't know if that's in the notes. I just closed them.
We signed a third string goalkeeper from Columbus Crew. Not one of the.
Okay, for some reason I thought we signed a forward
from
somewhere
Jacob
too.
Green, signing?
We had a Jacob Green, the homegrown signing, and
the homegrown.
Perez from LAFC, who played indoor soccer. More Casper moves with the Perez guy, but yeah, we'll see. We have Loudon, hopefully, for these guys to mature in, and I really like the trajectory the roster went in last year. Hopefully we can continue.
Yeah, and we talked about that during our end of season wrap up show. We weren't tossing the team wholesale. Like when you look at a lot of the positions, and it was mostly a question of getting more out of the guys that we had. There have been years that you look at the team after the season and say we can start from scratch. That's not the case here. So I agree with you, Joshua. Let's see this team continue on that trajectory, continue in the right direction, and build towards something better than what we saw this year.
Yeah, as a group, I don't think we agree that maybe that's Ozil. I think that's a little bit. I feel like we have to mention it, right? Like that blew up a couple days ago, and I think that a lot of the reporters were a little bit unimpressed. They seem to kind of be the same rumors that were flying around last year.
If Arsenal are willing to pay his wages, Sam, I'll take it. But I don't want to break the bank on Mesut Ozil. He's too old.
No, we're just gonna pay. We're gonna pay Mesut Ozil, the barista, all the salary. Like keep our books, DC United's roster clean. Like he'll be making minimum salary there, and then we'll be fine, right?
Okay, yes. Thank you also to D. Gomez, who's reminding us that we also signed Adrian Perez from LAFC. Yeah. And that's who I was thinking of. We signed him, I think, in the re-entry, right?
He's the indoor soccer guy I was talking about. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what you thought. I'm so sorry.
Hopefully he'll be like Iose Perez, and then Michael and I like him, obviously.
And then we'll sell him on to Europe, and it'll be great.
I'm all for the sell-on fees. So we've got one more resolution, and Sam, you want to go ahead and kick it off here, and then we're expecting Jason Levien to join us here any moment, and of course we'll break at that point, or do we want to roll into some DC scores? What do you guys think? Audible and on the fly.
I can go ahead and get started. What I'm first gonna kind of pump up though, so we don't get too much into it, is again that we're doing this show, and please cut me off whenever. We need to throw it to the video, but we are doing this show in partnership with Scream Eagles and DC Scores to raise some money for DC Scores. We've got a whole video kind of talking about what DC Scores is. It'll kind of explain it to you, but basically they just work throughout DC. I want to say it's around 3,000 students that they work with. And they kind of take those kids and they teach them soccer out on the field. Every team has a coach, but then every team also has a poetry instructor. So the kids are kind of learning how to express themselves both on the field and off the field. It's really amazing work. One of my friends is a coach and she absolutely loves her teams. I've done volunteering for some of their more fundraiser type events, but also I've gone to some of their poetry slams. And, you know, watching these kids, they're so enthusiastic and they're so great at poetry. Like I would never be able to kind of write the things that they do. And we actually will be showing one student, Tyrese, do one of his works of poetry after the interview with Jason. But the whole point of today's show is to raise money for them so they can keep going. Obviously, you know, like everyone else, they're facing challenges with the pandemic, but you can go to sedcs.givesmart.com. And there are some really fun auction items up, and they are all still pretty cheap. So really get in on it now. You've got, a whole day left, but really make sure that you take advantage of that because there are actually a lot of opportunities to interact with some of the players, which is really special.
Yeah, I'm not going to bid on anything till tomorrow. I'm going to give you guys all an opportunity to kind of get in there and rack them up, right? And then I probably had to bring a couple of these home tomorrow. There's some cool stuff on there. I've checked it out, and I'm really excited about, well, I don't want to spoil it. We'll get there. It looks like Jason was just in the Zoom call and dropped for a second. So I was about ready to throw it to him, and he's gone. So, Sam, let's go ahead and keep pressing, and as soon as he's here, I'll catch up.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I saw you motion to me. But, yeah, we can keep going. Obviously, just to touch again on DC scores, Scream Eagles has actually been able to bring a lot of the student athletes into the stadium. I want to say it's section 338, so it's right kind of a little sliver on the end of the supporter section. But the students are able to come watch DC United games also, and they have their DC flags that they're waving around, and they're joining in the chants and everything like that. So they really appreciate the opportunity to come and see DC United play, right? I know that they've done kind of tournaments with DC United players, or tournaments kind of like on Audi Field. I'm pretty sure they've played games there. But it's just a great organization that I hope you all are able, if you can, to bid on some of the items. If not, even just a small donation goes a long way. But that's, obviously kind of the biggest, when I personally think about community outreach, with DC United, I think about DC scores. And that's kind of our fourth resolution, is obviously, everything to keep the team going and to have more successful seasons is really important. But there also is, this call for outreach within the community, and DC scores is a great place to start. And DC United does do a lot of other really great things as well. So from their website, DC United are committed to making impact, making positive.
Sam, I hate to cut you off,
okay.
But it looks like Jason's here. So let's go ahead and throw it to a DC Scores overview video, and we'll hear about the first item that's up for auction. And when we come back, we'll have Jason Levien on the show.
Hey, tried and true fam. My name's Tony Francavilla, and I'm the Chief Development Officer at DC Scores. It's not off to a great start, but I'm really hoping the new year turns out a lot better than the last. We missed a lot in 2020, but high on that list is how much we miss being in Section 138 at Audi Field with you all. We all had a hell of a 2020, and for our poet athletes whose communities have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic, and who really had to process all the year to throw at them, stuck at home without their friends, their teammates, their routines, it was a lot worse. Throughout the year, our number one goal was to keep our kids feeling safe, supported, connected, and hopeful. Many of you helped us do that by joining us at Audi Field to pack and mail thousands of kits with jerseys, balls, pumps, cones, masks, writing journals, really everything that our kids needed to be able to participate in DC Scores from home. And in all, we put on nearly 2,000 virtual poetry and soccer workshops for about 2,700 poet athletes. And while it might not have looked like DC Scores, we really did a lot to make it feel like DC Scores. The key to making that happen, as always, is our incredible coaches, most of whom are teachers at the schools they coach at, so also real distance learning heroes of the pandemic. So to close, I'm going to shut up and pass it over to a few of them to tell you in their own words what having DC scores during 2020 meant to them. So big ups to Tried and True, to Screaming Eagles, to DC United. Happy New Year, and really, 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 really hope to see all of you at Audi Field sometime soon. Thanks. Take care.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Guzman, and I've been a DC Scores coach at Bancroft Elementary School for the past 14 years. I also participated in DC Scores when I was a student at Bancroft.
Hello, everyone. My name is Liana Ponce, and I'm for 7 years and at Brightwood Education Campus for the past 2 years.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deandre Yedlin. I'm a DC Scores coach at Jefferson Academy, just down the street from Audi Field. I've been here for the past 3 years, and previously I was a coach at Thomas Elementary School for 3 years.
Hello everyone, my name is Marjan Derry. I am the current DC Youth Poet Laureate. I've worked with DC Scores for a while as a poetry specialist, and this season I've been able to contribute as a poetry coach at Bancroft Elementary School and Capital City Public Charter School.
Scores has always been the best part of my week. As a teacher at the school, I have the benefit of seeing the impact that DC Scores has on our kids and the entire school beyond just the time that we're together each afternoon.
I've seen natural athletes mortified by public speaking, taking the slam stage and nailing a poetry solo.
I've seen budding artists and poets find their feet and score their first goal in a soccer game.
Behind it all is an entire team that has their back. For the schools, it's culture shifting. But for our poet athletes, it's life changing.
Of course, we haven't been in the school for the past 7 months. Imagine for a moment a young poet athlete stuck at home as 2 pandemics, COVID-19 and racial injustice, are battering their community more than any other.
Now take away the teammates, the coaches, and the routines they would normally depend on in tough times. It's a scary situation.
But DC Scores never stopped supporting me or our team.
This year's programming hasn't looked like DC Scores, but it's certainly felt like it. Our kids are still playing, and they are still writing.
Teaching artists like myself and staff have logged on with us to help kids take what they are feeling and pour it onto the page, and when they want to, speak it into the world.
In the toughest collective year on memory, our kids feel safe, supported, connected, and hopeful through these times.
That's something I've come to expect from DC Scores, but it's never something I've appreciated as much as I do now.
You can't say what 2021 will bring us, but as a coach, I know that I need DC Scores to be a part of it.
What's up, DC fam? Griffin Yao here. Wanted to wish you guys a happy new year, happy holiday. I've been working hard this off season, spending a ton of time with family, and just really enjoying the holidays. I've been playing a little bit of FIFA too. But most importantly, I miss you guys. I miss the season, and I can't wait to have you guys back out in the stands. But I think good luck to whoever has to play me this time in FIFA because, like I said, I've been improving, so I'll be looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Guys at DC Scores. Oh, we can't talk. John.
All right, that was a great video from the guys at DC Scores. Thanks so much for putting that together for us. And again, that website, you just saw it up on your screen, but it is sedcs.givesmart.com. So head over there. You just saw what Griffin has for you, and there are a lot of other great items as well.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. And guys, it's a distinct pleasure to welcome to the show DC United's co-chairman and CEO, Jason Levien. Jason, thanks so much for joining us tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's really a privilege and a pleasure to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you, and thanks for helping, obviously, to support DC Scores tonight. It's obviously an important charity to the supporters groups, but to the team as well.
Yeah, listen, it's an incredible organization, and Bethany and their whole team do such an amazing job, and we're honored to partner with them. And this has been a really unique and challenging year in a lot of ways. And in terms of having the right kind of impact. So we're really lucky and happy to support them in any way we can.
Yeah, no, it's so exciting. And Jason, just to kind of jump right into it, look, 2020 was obviously a very challenging year for everyone, and that was the case with DC United as well. But first of all, how are you and your family holding up as we proceed through these unprecedented times?
Thank you. I'm staying safe. I chomping at the bit for Audi Field to be rocking and rolling again. But fortunately, I've been healthy, and we're just excited for 2021 to kick in, and for good things to happen. It's been an eventful 2021 here in DC. I can obviously so far already, but hopefully there'll be a lot of positive things happening as the year progresses.
Yeah, so kind of staying in 2020 just for a second, when you look back on the year, what were some of your favorite moments that stick out? It wasn't all bad.
There were some good moments. I would say my two favorite moments. One was the assist that Kevin Paredes had against Atlanta United in stoppage time at their place. That was pretty sweet. He fed Gilman Rivas for his first goal. But what Paredes showed there was some really impressive talent. I think that sort of epitomized the excitement level that many of us have around some of the young players on the team and their growth and maturity. And so, one of the silver linings in the kind of season we had was that players like Kevin and Griffin Yao and Donovan Pines and Moses Nyman, had an opportunity to play critical, important minutes and get better. So I'd say that was one moment. My other moment was Paul Areola coming back, getting on the field against Montreal, watching the work that he put in to get healthy, to want to be a part of our team and make a contribution in 2020 was inspiring. And I was probably the only fan at that game at Audi Field. And I was screaming my lungs out when he entered the game just because I was so just excited for him and inspired by what his rehabilitation and ability to come in and join us.
Yeah, that's awesome. We love that moment, Jason. I'm Joshua Morgan. Thanks so much for coming on. Now that we're moving into 2021, how would you assess the state of the club? What are your feelings about the club going into the year?
Well, we've got a chip on our shoulder. I think we're a little bit angry and hungry after what happened in 2020. I think it's a great opportunity for us to sort of refocus on our goals and reshape the team. We think we've got some young, exciting pieces and some more experienced pieces that are really talented. We've got a huge focus right now on getting our on-field leader as our next head coach. So I would say it's a very exciting time, and there's huge opportunities, and we want to make sure we make smart decisions because 2020 was a challenging year for the world, but for DC United specifically, it left a bitter taste in our mouth the way things went down, and we didn't. It was a stop and start season, but we still, no excuses. We should have played much better, and we've got to do a better job moving forward, and we're focused on doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, this is Michael Black. There's no dispute that 2020 was a tough year for everybody. So glad to be out of moving into 2021. What are you looking forward to most in 2021? Is it fans back in the stands? Is it getting a new coach in place? What are you most excited about for a moment this season?
Well, it's been almost a year since we've had fans in the stands, and that's going to be an awesome moment. When we've got our supporters section cranking and our building sold out and everyone feeling comfortable and healthy and together. So I don't think anything's going to top that. But very close to that is going to be seeing our team perform and get back into the forefront of MLS and to playing an exciting style of football, soccer, and just starting to play a lot better and starting to win more. I think we had a little bit of success late in the season, the last month or so. I think the team started playing better and coming together a little bit more. But seeing more of that in 2021 is going to be great. But the first step is having our fans at Audi Field and our supporters and all of us really being united together. Because that's after what this year has been. I don't think anything's going to be able to top that. It's probably good for Penn too in some ways because it's a grind. And being a coach for that long, for a decade, for any team, it can wear on you. And I think that Ben's going to go on and do great stuff. I think he's already, advising us on soccer related decisions, including weighing in on our managerial selection process. We want to get him more involved as we build out the training facility, because his perspective, having been with the team for so long, a couple of decades as a player and a coach, we're building our training facility now, and his perspective on how that's going to work best and how to structure that is important. There's a key design element component to that as well. So I'm really, as hard as that decision was, first of all, he's such a classy professional that, he handled it with grace, just as I expected he would. And also with a little bit of frustration, because he's a fighter, and I know he wanted to go out in a different way as the manager of the team. But I think overall, I think Ben's going to play an important role. We're still sort of working through the elements of that role, and that's going to take some time. And over the course of the year, we're going to do that.
Yeah, Jason, all DC United fans are on the edge of their seat, staying tuned to all the rumors and reports about the next head coach at DC United. What can you tell us what you're looking for in that decision?
The process has been a long one, and I apologize if some fans are restless about it. But we really want to make the right selection. And Dave Casper and Stuart Mayers have taken the lead on that decision. Myself, my partner Steve Kaplan have been very involved. Sam Porter's been involved. We've gotten Ben Olsen involved, and we've done a lot of work trying to figure out, exactly how we want to play, what our style of play is going to be, what that philosophy is going to be that's going to lead us. And who our field general as a coach is going to be. And so, I would say that Dave has probably talked to 25 to 30 candidates. He's vetted that down for us. And we've had meetings with a handful of candidates already. They've presented their ideas about our team. It's been really interesting to hear, their thoughts after they prepare on our team, on some of our young players, some of our veteran players. How they would go about leading this team, what pieces they think we need to add to the roster in order to be successful. All of that has been, quite a positive process, I would say.
That's great. Thanks so much for shedding some light on that process. Kind of looking at the other on the field aspect is the players, right? So as you mentioned, we were equally, just so overjoyed to see Paul Arriola return onto the field, and we're hoping to see some breakout seasons from Flores and Gressel. Hopefully they're really, able to really find their rhythm on the field. So what are your aspirations for 2020 with regard to players?
Well, I think our aspirations with regard to players are getting the right mix, the right chemistry. I think that there was a big vacuum left with the departure of Wayne and Lucho in 2020, and we certainly made an investment in Paul Arriola and Edison Flores and Julian Gressel to try to change sort of the narrative on our team. And I think that this year, our hope and expectation is that we can sort of build the right mix of veteran players and our young and up and coming players. I think that Kevin Paredes, Griffin Yao, Moses Nyman, Donovan Pines in particular, we're excited about some of the players coming through Loudoun as well. But I think those guys got an opportunity to play more this season, and get more experience and be more ready for the 2021 year. So I think getting the right mix, getting our guys healthy. I mean, we obviously had the most injuries of any team, I think, in MLS this year. So I think the hope is that we get our guys healthy and focused, and we have the right balance of veteran leadership, players with international experience, guys like Edison Flores and Paul, and Bill Hamid, and also the young players, and getting them a chance to sort of step up and do more. So that I don't think we're that far away with that group, but certainly adding to that group is something we're spending a lot of time on, positionally. What do we need to be successful and really be at the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference of Major League Soccer. And it's getting harder and harder. It's getting more competitive. Teams are getting better, and they're getting smarter. So we've got to be really cognizant of that.
Absolutely. We're huge fans of the squad that y'all have put together so far, and looking forward to continuing to see growth there. You talked a little bit about the moves that you've made so far in the offseason. Are you expecting to make any other additions as we kind of move closer to the season? We've got an open DP spot if you want to fill it.
Yeah, no, I think we're looking hard at that, and the right time to do that. And I think that we, as I mentioned, want to get the right balance of experience and young up-and-coming talent. I think that the team certainly needs additions. We added a goalkeeper, in the last couple of days, but we think we're going to add more to the roster. And so I think it'll be a busy upcoming period for us in terms of doing that. We didn't score enough goals last year, and we certainly gave too many away. But we've got to figure out what's going to be our style of play and our approach to the season with this group of players. And we certainly want to have a coach weigh in on that with us. We're having Ben be our coach for more than a decade. We'd like to start another run of getting the right coach in here, and having them be a big part of the discussion process of roster moves moving forward.
Oh, that would be awesome if we could get somebody in here for another 10-year run like Ben had. But shifting gears a little bit to off the field, Jason, you guys made a really exciting announcement in December when you announced the hiring of Danita Johnson as the club's president of business operations. I talked quite a bit about it earlier on the show about how excited I am, but what can you tell us about Danita and kind of the vision for her role going forward?
First of all, I think we're so thrilled that she's joining us. I think she's an outstanding leader. We spent quite a bit of time through that process. That process began in earnest in probably early June. And we talked to a lot of candidates, and Danita stood out because of several factors. One is her, in her tenure, she's still relatively young, but in her tenure in leadership, she had a great important, and she's excited about being in a different sport. She's and I think that she is really excited about soccer and Major League Soccer and taking on this new role in Washington. And so we can't wait for her to get started. It's going to be a few weeks from now. She's going to get on board, and I think that you guys and our supporters are going to love her. They're going to embrace her, and I know she's going to embrace you guys. And I think that we're going to have a very positive experience of our business.
Yeah, we definitely look forward to more fan engagement and building that kind of culture here in the club. Something that was announced during the season, the partnership with Fanduel, seems very exciting to DC United fans. Can you tell us what that partnership is about and what fans should expect from it?
Oh, I couldn't hear that. The partnership with
Fanduel.
With Fanduel.
Oh, Fanduel. Oh, great. Yeah. So, listen, we spent a lot of time, money, and resources on our stadium, and our fans didn't really get to see it. Our supporters didn't get to see it all. I know we did the supporter section with safe standing going on. Whatever's happening in the sports world, you can come down there. You can have a great meal. You can hang out with your friends. You can place a bet. And be part of that, and so that's what we're going for with FanDuel, and like I said, I think they're a top-notch operator in the business of sports betting that's really taken on a big life in the United States now, and we want to be a big part of that opportunity at Audi Field.
Yeah, that's great. We love taking advantage of the stadium as much as we could, obviously before COVID, but even being able to host our post-game show live there was super exciting for us, and I'm sure you'll find us there every day of the week practically if given the opportunity. So switching gears a little bit again, we were thrilled to have all of the team's games streamed locally for free at the last part of the season. And of course, a big part of that is having Dave, Devin, and Claudia, announcing the games and on the sideline. Can you give us any insight into the team's broadcasting plans for 2021 and beyond?
Well, we really hope and expect those three are back. I think they do an outstanding job. Dave and Devin have been a really good team, and Claudia has been terrific. And her ability to be in the action and speak to the players, I think is really really positive, and brings a lot of insight. And I think Dave is the gold standard and really part of our family since the beginning. And Devin as a player, and now in his role as a commentator, I think he does a great job and really knows our team and loves our team, but provides unique insights. So, now, what our strategy is for streaming all our matches. We haven't made a final decision. We're going to bring Danita into that decision with us now, but we've got a whole team working on it. Last year was tricky. We had to stop the season early, but I think they do an outstanding job. Ryan Martin is our coach out there, and I think he did a great job through a lot of adversity this season. And one of the things we had that was a challenge is that we young players transition back and forth between Loudoun and DC, so that we can give them more game time. And we did that in 2019. Guys like Griffin Yao and Kevin Paredes, even Donovan Pines got minutes for Loudoun and then moved to DC to play with DC United. Because of the COVID restrictions, we weren't able to do that this year. I think that though the guys who did play, we saw some really good talent. There are a couple of players that obviously we're very excited about. Josh Green has now been signed, and he was playing with Loudoun United last year. We've got a couple of other young players that I think have a chance to be really good that we're excited to watch. We were able to have some fans in Segra Field at Loudoun, but not enough. And hopefully that'll grow, as health restrictions are lifted and things are safer. That's a huge opportunity for us from a competitive advantage standpoint in terms of developing talent, and giving that talent experience to play. So Segra Field, we're building our training facility right now. We've already gone vertical on that. We're going vertical on that now. That should be ready this summer. We've got 4 training pitches that'll go around the training facility out there. It's a 30,000 square foot venue. Those are some of the things out there. Certainly, we're going to have Loudoun United training with a locker room. We're going to have DC United out there. We're going to host this Washington Spirit. The Spirit will be playing all their matches between Segra and Audi, and using the training facility in Loudoun. So a lot of exciting things happening out there. Again, I don't know if we mentioned this, but Old Glory, the rugby team, will be playing their matches at Segra. But from a soccer standpoint, getting young talent into Loudoun, persuading young players, even at the academy level, play professionally or against professionals, and grow their skill set is important. And it's a key competitive advantage driver for us.
Great. We were going to ask you about the training facility, so we appreciate you kind of beating us to the punch.
I get too enthusiastic.
No, we love it. We're enthusiastic too. We made it down to Loudoun for 1 or 2 games. We're super excited to see more of those. And like you said, even having easier access to the Spirit as DC residents, being able to watch them both at Audi and over in Segra is going to be really exciting for us. But DC and Loudoun aren't the only clubs that you have ownership in. You're also one of the owners at Swansea City in Wales. So can you talk about just the difference between kind of
and Swansea in different ways? It's easier for me in some ways in DC to be more hands-on because I'm here, and our challenges. When I got involved in DC United, it was 2012, and the biggest opportunity we saw was to find a new home for the team to play. We walked into RFK, we said, oh my goodness, if we could find a venue in downtown, in the city, in an upcoming exciting neighborhood, we could bring the entire team in the city and light it up. It took us a while and I learned a lot from that experience. In Swansea, we came in and they had a stadium, the Liberty, that was built. And the challenges there were they had a somewhat of an aging roster. They were in the Premier League, and they needed to add to that roster, and affects the bottom line. But we're in this for the long haul, and we're really trying to build something that is strong and self-sustaining, and produces a successful outcome. We want to win this for MLS Cups, and for celebrating those victories and those trophies, and we haven't had nearly enough of them. And for me, I've taken a long-term view since 2012. We've gotten one trophy, the U.S. Open Cup, but now we're hungry for a lot. Is to build through a combination of young players, veterans, established players, and putting the right mix out on the pitch to be successful. And we've got a long-term view on that.
Great, thank you for that perspective. Our next question is for our friends over with Black and Red United, the Filibuster podcast. They'd like to know, are there any other MLS clubs that you're interested in trying to emulate?
So, the answer to your question is yes. I think we want to emulate what's going on also in Seattle and Portland, certainly with their fan bases, with their success over. And he was telling me how, when he thinks of 2020 and what a challenging year it was, he said playing without our fans at Audi Field was, he made it sound like it was certainly like the Twilight Zone. It was a real challenge. And the energy and enthusiasm, season ticket holders of, that place rocks. It's great. How vertical Audi Field is. And I move around sometimes when I'm at the stadium and to see it from different locations and vantage points. But it's an awesome environment, and there's certainly other great environments in Major League Soccer. And so, I believe that gives us a real advantage. It gives us a sense of excitement and community. And it was missed this year. And certainly, what happens is you're sitting at home or watching the games on TV and you don't forget the fans aren't there, but you sort of get lost in the game. And one of the things that Ben really brought home to me yesterday is how different it is for the players and the coaches not having the fans there, and sort of the uplifting nature and that goes on with having our fans in the building. So certainly it's going to be a big difference getting our fans back and doing it at Audi Field, a place where they're right on top of the action.
Yeah, I know I speak on behalf of all of us. I can't wait to lose my voice and be covered in beer again because it's been far too long. Jason, thank you so much for your time tonight. I want to just end with one final question for you. We've covered a lot of ground here, talked so much about various aspects of the club, everything from on the field to off the field, and was hoping you could just share, what do you hope DC United looks like going forward? Not just in 2021, but for years to come. What is your vision for the Black and Red?
That's a great question. First thing I want to say to you is that I want to apologize, because I want to do better. We all want to do better, but it keeps me up at night that we didn't perform better, that we had so many injuries, that we went through the challenges we went through, and we almost pulled it out. We almost pulled out at least making the playoffs. We had 15 minutes to go against Montreal, and then I was dreaming about, listen, this team, we were starting to gel. We had Paul Arriola back. I thought maybe we could pull a rabbit out of the hat here. And it just wasn't meant to be in those last 15 minutes. 15 minutes to go, we were in the playoffs, and I liked our chances. And it didn't happen. But that, that pulling a rabbit out of our hat is not what we want to be doing. When I think about the vision for the club, it's about sustained success. It's about, use about best practices on the pitch. It's about, we think we've got the best location for a stadium in all of Major League Soccer, right downtown in Buzzard Point, in an area that's growing and getting even more exciting, and using that to our advantage, making it an awesome atmosphere that just drives excitement on game days, as I mentioned, and also not on game days. But on the pitch, it's about performing. It's performing at a high level. It's, having a belief every time we play that we have a really good chance to win, because our players know that's culture and what we're doing. And so we've got to get back to that. I mean, that was something certainly in the early days that DC United had. The league is in a vastly different place now. It's much more challenging. There are more teams in the league. There are more players from all over the world in the league. The talent level is higher. But my vision for DC United is that we are at the forefront of the growth of soccer in America, that the district, with our catchment area of players that love the sport. We've got 500,000 kids playing youth soccer in the DMV, and helping to ignite even more excitement in that group is important, and winning. And what winning does? It creates memories. I go to games at Audi Field, and some of the most rewarding moments, I'm looking at a father, a son, and a daughter experiencing the action together. One of Rooney's crazy goals, that play against Orlando when he made that tackle and found Lucho, and looking around the stands and thinking about the memories that have been created for children's and parents' lifetimes. And so I want more of those moments. I want a lot more of those moments, because those are the ones that bring us all together, and they're the ones I think about when I want to feel happy. And so those are the kind of things. That's the kind of vision for the club, is having the right infrastructure, having the right leadership, and having the right inclusive atmosphere. Being on the forefront of bringing people together. DC is in a crazy time right now in the district, and standing for something, standing for excellence, but standing for inclusiveness. And when I talk about inclusiveness, I talk about based on race and gender and sexual orientation, and all the things that make our community special, and welcoming. And so that really is what it's all about, and leaving a legacy that our fans remember, our community remembers, about winning and winning together.
No, that's so well said, and we're so excited to be a part of it, and we look forward to hopefully running into you at Audi Field sometime this year. Hopefully we're all back in there as one big happy family.
We're all gonna have a beer together. I can't wait. I cannot
wait.
Hold
you to that now, Jason.
Okay, I'm in, dude. I am in, and I can't tell you. I guess I underestimated how much I missed that atmosphere. It's like you get so caught up in the wins and losses and the week to week stuff, and it's all great and exciting, but not here. It's been like it's been.
Doing his poetry reading, and America Scores, kind of the umbrella organization from DC Scores, actually has a documentary coming out on January 14th, and that will be, you can see that at ourcities.com. We'll definitely tweet out this information for you all, and Tyrese is actually going to be a part of that as well. He's hosting it, so again, that's January 14th at 8 p.m. So hopefully you're really energized. We're definitely going to get into kind of our key takeaways from Jason. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments. But before we do that, we're going to hear from Donovan Pines about his auction item that is available.
Hey guys, Donovan Pines here, member of DC United. Just want to say the offseason is going really well, and I can't wait to get back to Audi Field and see all the fans again and seeing you guys. And I hope everyone enjoys my jersey. Thank you. See you guys soon.
Man, that's a nice jersey. I love Donovan Pines. I think the upside, you probably could be wearing that jersey for a long time in Audi Field.
Yeah, and like we said, so many awesome and exciting, I keep wanting to say prizes, but items to bid on, and with money going to such a great cause, what DC Scores does is so important, and unprompted, something that Jason talked quite a bit about, at the beginning and at the end of the interview, about the importance of community, the importance of inclusion, the importance of making memories, and I'm a little bit. I'm trying to compose myself what I want to talk about, because we covered so much ground, and that was just, to me, that was a really fascinating interview with Jason.
Yeah, I completely agree. We talked kind of offline right before we went live about how, there's so many things we would have loved to dig so much deeper on with him, but we really kind of had to remain surface level. I mean, we well exceeded, I think we doubled the amount of time that we told him we were going to have him on for. And
what's funny about that, Sam, just, what was weird with our crazy logistics in a COVID world, Sam and Joshua are kind of sequestered running all the AV for us, and thank you guys for that tonight and for all of our shows. But Black and I had a chance to talk to Jason a little bit at the beginning, and the poor guy was driving home, and he was like, "What?" Yep. He's like, "Do you want me to pull over? Like, I can just put the video on there." And we were like, "Whatever works for you."
Yeah, but yeah, he was so gracious to, again, take you know, the opportunity to talk to, or to give us the opportunity to talk to him really while he was driving home.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, to just hit on so many topics. You know, he bounced from one to another. Obviously, you know, he knows the team, one would hope so, but he gave us a lot of the depth that we couldn't specifically ask for, right? He just really went into a lot of those questions. And yeah, I mean, where do you guys want to start?
Well, and to your point, Sam, you know, I think you saw what you would kind of hope to see from another, as far as somebody who is clearly engaged and interested in what's going on. It's not just oh yes, I happen to have an ownership stake in this team, and we had a tough year this year. Like, he is intimately familiar with every number of details on what's going on with this operation. I think that should be encouraging for DC United fans, that you've got somebody who's really paying attention. And, you know, as he said at the end, where the team is right now, it was not acceptable for 2020, and they're looking to build forward. And, you know, hopefully a lot of those ideas and that passion that you saw from him will turn into results for us here in the near future.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think a lot of fans speculate a lot about that Jason kind of bought the team, wanted to build the stadium, and then flip for a profit. I've definitely seen that rumor go around, but talking to him,
wasn't the sense I got tonight, right?
He had such a long-term vision for this team that he genuinely seemed so excited for this team, for Loudon, you know, and the ways that they're incorporating the spirit and the rugby team into what, you know, the facilities are going to be able to offer. Like, he really seemed bought all in that, and then also kind of building that relationship with Swansea, right? And kind of being that connector, but also really learning from them and using their wealth of knowledge and, you know, potentially like their players to help bolster DC United, right? Or like their facilities to help bolster the players we already have. Like, it didn't feel to me like he was going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. Oh, go ahead, Joshua.
Yeah. For me, I'm just trying not to, you know, it was what an opportunity to talk to the owner and trying not to be starstruck by, you know, just the conversation that we had. But he was a competitor and he felt passionate. And if you took away the label, if there was no audio and we didn't tell people and they didn't recognize his voice, you would have thought it was just any other fan who just loved being in the stands and loved his team, like loved when the players succeeded, and like his knowledge of teams that were doing well in the league and what he wanted the DC United to become. Like, I completely bought in now, and I can see that he wants good for this team, which is so reassuring.
I think he deserves a lot of credit that I was not willing to give last season on this show for having that vision, you know, and I think that was one of the things that we struggled to see last year, and we struggled to see it a little bit with, you know, not having a coach yet, and he kind of owned that too, of like, you know, I think we all had hoped we had somebody in, but it was fascinating to me just to hear how in depth they're going with that, how many different, you know, voices they have, which sometimes can be noise, you know, and but Coach Olsen obviously is a big part of that as well. And yeah, I think when you take a step back and you think about what this could be with Segra training facility, a fully functioning second-tier team, they've gotten rid of pay to play, so you've got the academy, and then you potentially build a pipeline to go over to Swansea and back for some of these players to get continued experience. That's a model I can buy in on, you know, and I think it's going to take more time. I don't think we're going to see, you know, fruits of all that this season. But if you step back and think about it, and then you add in the spirit, and you add in, Sam, like you said, Old Glory, the rugby team too, for just other partners in the area, other revenue streams, this could be really exciting. And it was cool to hear that, you know, not just from, you know, the four of us talking about, you know, what we want to see, but from the guy that can make it happen.
Yeah, you, I think, sent, obviously we had, like, you know, our show notes, and we were kind of popping in. We were trying to pop in as many, you know, questions as possible that you all were sending in. Hopefully we hit on a lot of it. But you kind of made a joke, like, it's like he was listening to us at the tail end of the season, right? I feel like that's, like, the vision that we've had for this team. You know, we've had such this, like, grandiose long-term vision. And hearing him speak, it feels like we're truly just in the growing pains of that, right? Like, all those things are not going to happen overnight. They do take a lot of money, and they do take a lot of time to really get set. And it felt a little bit directionless, like you said. And I think, I mean, obviously we're not all CC'd on his master plan emails, right? So like in the moment it can feel difficult.
Still working on that.
Right? But I think in the moment, you know, we're not going to see that come to fruition right now, and it feels very frustrating, and, you know, we don't have access to that master plan, but, you know, we just got a little glimpse of it. And like you said, I think it is trending in the right direction. And, you know, DC United can potentially be one of those powerhouses of MLS. You know, for the last several years, it feels like we've just been like, okay, let's just make the playoffs. Let's just make the playoffs. And man, it broke my heart all over again when he was talking about how we were just 15 minutes away. But it seems like that's not the goal for long, right? He really wants to be one of those teams, you know, like Toronto, like Seattle, who are competing every single year for the MLS Cup. Like that's where he sees this team being in like the relatively near future, right? Like once all these pieces come into play, as they are starting to, it feels like that's what we're growing towards.
Yeah, and you know, there's no getting away from the fact that we're all fans of this team, and it's hard to be a fan of a team and go into a year and not be hopeful. But to have that echoed in the owner is certainly encouraging. I think for me, two big takeaways. One, talking about the new president of business operations, Deandre Johnson. They started looking to fill that role back in June. You know, we talked about this is a role that's been empty for a couple of years, but they were starting to try to fill this role before the team even got back on the field after the coronavirus hiatus. So it's clear that that is a priority for them moving forward. And the other, of course, is the coaching search. You know, we didn't get a whole lot of details about when we're expecting a new coach. You know, we've seen the reporting on it. You've heard him say that they've talked to 25 to 30 candidates. But for me, the most encouraging thing was that you heard him talk about the need to identify what this team wants to do on the field, what kind of playing style they want to do, what they want to be as a team, and to get a coach that reflects that. I think all of us would like to have that coach as soon as possible, but it does seem like they have the right idea on it, rather than just saying we're going to grab the first person that we can find.
Yeah, you know, something that strikes me about the Deandre Johnson hire is if they started working on that in June, what else was happening in June? The Black Lives Matter protests, right? And we heard from a lot of players, kind of both in press conferences and the pregame press conferences that we tweet out for you guys. We heard that there were some really positive conversations happening behind the scenes, and that the players felt like, you know, it was a really productive place to be at the moment. A lot of the players of color were talking about how they really felt heard, and they felt like they were, you know, starting to build this safe space within DC United. And a lot of what they were talking about was that DC United were really bought into making changes, right, and acknowledging where they'd potentially fallen short, in kind of acknowledging those community members, and in, you know, making it a really inclusive environment. And we haven't really seen that yet as fans, right? Like obviously the players were really positive about it, and we were like, okay, that's probably promising. Like we have some very outspoken players who wouldn't have said that if they didn't believe it, right? So I wonder if this Deandre Johnson hire is part of that, right? Because part of what she brings to the table is her community engagement. So I wonder if that was kind of a way that they saw to answer those questions. And then obviously once she really does hit the ground running and start working, we're going to see a lot of what she is able to bring to the table, and how she is going to start answering some of the questions about what's been lacking in the past.
Yeah, that's a really good point, timing-wise, Sam. I had not thought about that. And, you know, I think just one of the things that struck me probably the most at the end of the conversation with Jason there is, you know, long-time listeners of the show know how bought in I am on my teams and how passionate I am on them, and how much I want them to reflect, you know, the values that I hold, you know. And to hear Jason talk about inclusivity and diversity and community engagement, and the idea of just making memories, and you know, looking at, you know, young families in the stands with young kids, and knowing when a special moment happens, that's something that they're going to have together and remember forever. That's not something I necessarily expected to hear tonight, but I really was glad that I did, because, you know, I think, you know, becoming more and more of a European soccer fan, I learned how much clubs are part of the community, And I think that that's something truly that's always been the case with DC United, and it seems to be true, under this ownership group as well. That's something that matters to them, and that's something that they continue to kind of keep at the forefront of everything that they do, based on what we heard tonight.
Yeah, something else that stuck out to me was like how knowledgeable he is about the players, that he was able to, just bring players up. And the one thing that kind of stuck out to me was that he talked about Kevin Paredes' assist, right? He wasn't talking about the goal that happened. He was like the build-up and the assist and like the way that Kevin grew in that moment. Like that to me is like, okay, you kind of actually pay attention. I feel like anyone else would kind of talk about the big goals, right? It's easy to talk about Paul coming back. It's easy to throw back to, the Wayne Rooney, Lucho Acosta goal against Orlando and know that you're going to have fans in your corner. But the fact that he kind of like picked out the piece of that play that, wasn't like maybe the main highlight or like the main headline, but that he also saw that build up and really appreciated that moment. I'm like, all right, like you do care, right? Joshua, what did you think? Anything else kind of stick out to you?
I have a lot of respect for Jason. No, Jason has always been above board with me. I can't think of any other team's owner that I've seen in the club shop before. And I've seen Jason in the club shop with a humongous bag of jerseys. Like, probably...
I remember that. That's when you bought the Gressel shirt, right?
Yeah. And
this
then
was preseason too. This wasn't at a game.
Yeah,
this was just on a random day.
And then I saw him when he invited some of the supporters group members to come paint I Can't Breathe on the field. And he was talking.
Which was his idea.
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off.
His idea. And he was talking to COA about that topic, which is incredibly powerful. I'm enthused. I want to see more of it, and hopefully it continues, and hopefully he finds the success that he like portrays that he was going for and portrays that he deserves based off of our talk. I will certainly relish in it.
I see it. I see Jason at the helm, all the community, Kevin Paredes bringing us that MLS Cup. We've heard it from two people on our show now. We've been doing this show for a year, actually exactly a year. A memory on my phone popped up that yesterday was the very first day we broke out all this equipment and we did kind of a mock episode on a Leicester game, actually. Wow. That was a year ago yesterday, yep. So, but just in this 1 year of podcasting, we've heard from a young, budding star on the team as well as the owner that MLS Cups are coming. So I'm convinced.
Pre-assist Kevin Paredes.
Yeah, that was when Kevin's biggest claim to fame was kicking all our butts in FIFA.
Yeah.
Yep. Look at him now.
Yeah,
right?
that was before he showed up in the field.
Remember that when Kevin's looking for a big contract and Jason can pay him. We'll have to remind them both. They promised us a cup. You can't win that if he leaves, right? So.
Right. Don't worry. We'll have those audio clips for when it happens.
That's right. So just a reminder, guys, that one of the big reasons why we're here tonight, obviously, is to raise money for DC Scores. And we've got one additional kind of guest appearance from DC United's captain, Steven Bernbaum, to kind of shout out one of the items that he's got up for bid.
Hey, guys, it's Steven Bernbaum from DC United. Hope everyone's staying healthy and safe during this crazy time. Just been rehabbing, getting fit and gearing up for the season. We're excited to have everyone back at Audi Field once it's safe to do so, and we miss you guys, and I'm ready to answer any questions you guys have for me and do this Q&A. I'm excited to hear from y'all and hope to hear from you soon. Okay, talk soon. Bye.
And just a reminder, guys, the URL for that is sedcs.givesmart.com, and we'll continue to kind of tweet that out later on tonight and tomorrow. I think the auction actually closes sometime tomorrow or Monday, if I recall correctly. Just got to make sure I got enough time to get in there. But that's sedcs.givesmart.com to check out all the items up for bid.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really cool. He mentioned the Q&A that is his bid item, is to kind of sponsor a drop-in on a DC Scores team. And you could, if you win that bid, be a part of that conversation and kind of drop in and ask your own questions. And the kids will ask questions of Steve, which is, again, really great of the team to kind of give such access to players that these kids have, right? What an inspiration to be talking to one of the professionals in the sport that you're learning. That's super great. So if there are... Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bid items right now. there are still several bid items that are low, and certainly opportunity is there for taking advantage of that. So definitely check out that website if you are so inclined.
Oh man, I gotta shout one here. Now you got me clicking on it. I'm gonna end up going broke tonight. Look, you can play Muhammad in FIFA. Then that's DC United's EMLS player, and I'll tell you, my man went 7-1 to kick off the EMLS season. I was texting Josh for the other day. We're throwing a parade if we win the EMLS Cup. It's a big deal. Even if it's just the four of us, 6 feet apart.
That's funny. Yeah, so you're about to just listen to like what we're all about to bid on right now live. It sounds like we're almost there. Yeah, I think it's open up for another day. But like Tony mentioned in his video, they're still really working to work with kids during COVID. Obviously, their need for DC Scores hasn't diminished with a pandemic. And they've done really great things. They've kind of sent equipment over. I actually helped them kind of stuff bags over the summer, so they sent like cones and soccer balls and a little like outline of the soccer they should be doing every day, and a DC Scores mask, and then they also sent like a notebook, and I think there were like some writing prompts or something like that. So again, you're kind of hitting both that soccer and poetry. And I'm actually really looking forward to the America Scores documentary, because these kids, again, just blow me away with their poetry every time I listen to it. So
yeah, and Sam, one of the things we were about to hit on before Jason joined us was our 4th New Year's resolution as a show. Do you want to go back and talk a little bit about sort of the community engagement way forward, which I assume Jason hit on at least a little bit of?
Absolutely. Yeah, now that I'm not like afraid of being cut off at every single moment and trying to make what I say very brief, happy to.
Hey, 2021, Sam's still getting cut off by going to press conferences. They're going to be on it.
Shocking. Good to know some things remain consistent, right? So obviously we've talked at length about DC Scores. They're obviously an important part of today's show. But there are definitely other things that DC United's kind of doing within the community. What I started to quote from their website before we got on with Jason was that DC United are committed to making a positive and measurable impact in the lives of children and families in the DMV region. Our primary focus is to support programs and initiatives focused on health and wellness, inclusion, and community improvement. So those kind of 3 things really stuck out to me, and I think that we've seen them come to fruition, and then we've also seen where there's, I'll say, opportunity to do better. So the health and wellness piece, I'm sure you all kind of saw the at-home workout videos that they were putting out in COVID. Kind of right in the summer, they had Ben and his kids like running around their backyard. I think Steven Bernbaum did one. I think his daughter might have made a cameo, or maybe he like posted a picture about it afterwards where she did. But obviously that's kind of like their health aspect. They're really trying to reach out, and they were trying to give people, a safe way to work out during COVID. Also during COVID, you saw the Unite the District, which was, from my understanding, really an idea that came from the first team. They partnered with Martha's Table to raise money and provide meals for families in need, with a specific focus on wards 7 and 8. Because I think on their website, they said that there's one kind of grocery store available between those 2 wards, which is getting into a lot of the inequality that DC United is, with that movement was trying to help combat. And with Unite the District, they also did a ticket donation option for first responders. At that point, we didn't really know if we were going to get back in at the season. And I'm sure for those, that did decide to donate tickets, that's kind of being shifted over to whenever it is safe to get back in the stadium. And then I actually didn't know about this, but they also have a partnership with PG County Library System. And they kind of bring English and Spanish content. They do, again, workout videos with the kids. They do Ask Me Anythings with players. And then they have like a bi-weekly story time. So you, again, kind of see that theme of, really coming together and bringing, the health and wellness aspect, but also just that connection with the players, and then a lot of literacy going with what they're already doing. But obviously there are many ways that they can improve. We've already talked a little bit about the Black Lives Matter movement and how they've already started to address some of those things, about how, they haven't listed out here are their 5 key things that they're going to be doing, but we potentially are starting to see some of those. And obviously, the league as a whole is working really closely with Black Players for Change, which Bill Hamid is a huge part of. So looking forward to kind of seeing what changes they are able to bring about. And then when you talk about the community piece, obviously also kind of around Buzzard Point, as the stadium was first being built, obviously that was a great disruption to the community, building a huge structure like that. And there were also, some health things about just the debris and everything that was kind of being kicked up during that building period. But, DC United did reach out as someone in the community. I helped participate in a tree planting in that area. And obviously, again, it's a larger issue, but green spaces in cities are really lacking. And they kind of, came together. I think DC Scores was there too. It might have been the ECC. I don't remember exactly who was there, but there were definitely people who were very knowledgeable about how to plant trees who were there. And then some kids actually ran up and helped us plant one of the trees. It was really cute. And then obviously kind of youth development, you see that really come to fruition on the field, but that also off the field, is providing an outlet for kids, especially now, John, as you mentioned, that pay to play is kind of going away, and we're seeing a restructuring of youth soccer kind of throughout the country. That's giving kids an opportunity to find a positive outlook, and obviously also kind of giving them role models, and giving them kind of things to put their energy towards. So that's kind of a large overview. Obviously, I'm missing out on a lot of things, right? Jason talked about accessibility, and kind of seeing that play throughout the stadium. How are we being more accessible for people who aren't maybe able-bodied or have some type of disability that they need help with. There are a lot of things that are lacking, right? Any organization, nobody does it perfectly, and I think, as I mentioned, we're kind of starting to see some of those changes. There are definitely areas where we can still see those changes. Did I leave anything out? What do you all also kind of hope to see this year moving forward with the team?
I think you covered it very well. Obviously this is a club that's a lot more than just the product you see on the field. I think that's one of the things that we like to see about the club is being engaged in the community. That was part of building Audi Field, was making sure that they appropriately address the impact that they were going to have on the area and to be a force for good in what they're doing. So obviously we're excited to see the stuff. There's always room to grow and room to do more, but as we saw from our review with Jason, it's a high priority item for the team. So look forward to seeing more in the future.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm just so proud of so many of the off the field things that this club does, and I think that's, as I'm learning, one of the reasons why in soccer we call them clubs as opposed to teams, right? Because it's more than just what's on the field. And 2020 sucked, and Jason apologized for that earlier, right? There's no sugarcoating it. It wasn't what we expected on the field, but we're fortunate that they are much more than just the on the field stuff, and there's positives all around this club, and I think I'm feeling much better tonight than I was a couple weeks ago about just the foundation that this club has built in the community and kind of where they're headed as an organization. And now it's time to buckle down and get the results right.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, John, I saw that you kind of had your 3 words for this one, so I decided to just pick one word for mine, and that was basically just going to be impact, right? You have to have an impact with what you're doing. You can kind of talk about making changes, you can kind of brainstorm and have some ideas, but if you're not making real change in the community and having a real impact, then you're not frankly doing your job. And I'm hopeful that we will see some positive changes, and I've definitely said this in prior shows, but hold the team accountable, right? If you have ideas about how things can change, reach out to your ticket rep, reach out to, some of the supporters groups. They obviously communicate with the team, and they can kind of help get things going if you have some ideas, but definitely make sure that we start seeing this impact come to fruition.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap things up here, as I think this is officially going to be our longest show ever, but I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. A number of Screaming Eagles were out there listening, as well as the broader DC United community. And hopefully we got some new listeners. If you enjoyed what you heard tonight, you can hear from the four of us, perhaps a little less sober than we were tonight after DC United games throughout the season as we kind of recap things. That's our bread and butter is the post-game atmosphere. But just a couple of quick things that I got to mention today. If you're still hanging out with us, you must not be in too much of a hurry to leave. The FA Cup is going on in England right now, and I got to shout out Chorley. I don't know if you guys saw this. They're in the 6th tier, which basically means everybody's got another job to pay bills, and they do soccer on the other side. They're in the National League North, I believe. They knocked off Derby County today. Wayne Rooney-less, and actually the entire first team was pretty much missing due to COVID concerns. But it made me think just straight Ted Lasso, because they have this tradition after the game when they do these big wins. It's in the locker room. The whole team is singing "Someone Like You" by Adele, and it's wild, and it's everything I love about the game and everything I miss about the game. Check it out. I'll tweet it out from the team account. And of course, looking through the FA Cup, Wolves and Leicester are through, so Joshua, we're into the hat for the next round. Leeds got to wake up. Is it early game tomorrow, Sam? Or
no,
midday?
I want to say it's a midday, which is good for me.
Michael,
we played a full 90 minutes.
I saw the score and I was like, wow, that's 2-0 after extra time. And I was like, oh no.
You got no school goals to win games. That applies to Newcastle, applies to DC United, applies to a lot of places.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant transition, because Matthew, is it Hop or Hope or Hoppy?
I think
we're gonna learn the guy's name.
I think it's Hop, but he is the American Hope now, so.
He is, right? We're gonna change it.
Oh man!
What a day for Schalke today. He scored his first goal in the Bundesliga, and then followed it up with his second and third goal for his first career hat trick. And I think that was Schalke's first win since Joshua started following Schalke when the Bundesliga came back. But it's just so exciting for him, and continue to see young Americans flourish in the Bundesliga. The future's bright for the men's national team as well. And I don't know. Yeah, that's right. We didn't get to talk about this on the air. This was when the DC Scores video was playing, we were kind of prepping Jason for how the interview was going to go. And I'll tell you, his mind is on the super draft. He was naming some players from Syracuse and from Pitt that got some eyes on potentially in the super draft. Wow. So he's definitely in super draft mode, and that's January 21st at 2 p.m. because of course it is.
No longer in Baltimore. I think it's virtual now. I mean, definitely this year it's virtual, but I think. We don't all get to go get drunk in Baltimore anymore, which is sad. I just want to.
I mean, we can anyway. There's nothing. Well, COVID is stopping us, but after COVID,
we go into a parking lot.
The next thing on the list I added, and I just wanted to give John and his girlfriend Abby congratulations on purchasing a home in Virginia. They did a little while ago, but I think, in the last show, it wasn't very public yet. So, yeah, I just wanted to give you a shout and a congratulations for that very big adult step you guys took.
Thank you, Sam. It will not impact my ability to hang out with you guys on the podcast, I promise. But I do appreciate it.
We expect at least a mini pitch in the yard to start developing talent for DC United.
Yeah, we round up the neighborhood kids.
Exactly.
Creepy dude walking around trying to play soccer with little kids. They'll go great. We'll shout out our friends, of course, at Across the Pond. They help promote the show again today. I know that they're still open. They've got the parklet in the back, trying to do some limited outdoor dining, but of course they've still got the to-go and takeaway options. And tomorrow's another big day in the NFL, so lots of playoff games. So please support them. We appreciate everything that they do for us. They're a great place to watch soccer.
Is it West Ham which supporters group goes there?
Hammers,
yeah, and I think that they've been kind of going during COVID, because they've got a pretty good socially distanced space in the back. They've got all these separate tables and obviously a huge TV. So yeah, I've seen pictures. They're still going. So if you're a West Ham fan in DC, you're looking for a place to go watch games, definitely check them out.
Yeah. What else did we miss, guys? Anything else before we call it quits?
I don't think
another show here probably a few weeks. Hopefully after we get a new coach. This isn't the last you'll hear from us between now the start of the season. But I hope you all enjoy the show tonight. Definitely hit that donation link. This is a different show, but we're happy to support DC Scores, and hope you all will too.
Yep, and looking forward to getting back to our semi-regular after every single DC United game schedule.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, if you're new tonight, if you liked what you heard, please tell a friend. Tell a friend to listen to this episode, because I think the interview with Jason was really insightful. There's just so much to. I'll probably listen to it again because we talked about so much. But also subscribe, share, anything you can do to help promote us, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you in person at some time this year at Audi Field. So for Joshua, Sam, and Michael, I'm John Lee. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Vamos United, and we'll chat real soon.